So this is on the Zimbabwe side, and the other side where the water's actually falling off from the Zambezi River is on the Zambia side. See the sheer scale of volume of water is just unbelievable, really. There's actually a dead hippo at the bottom here, which is not surprising considering it would have fallen off there. These are some of those towns I was talking about going through and seeing some of the poverty and some of the hope in cases as well. Apologise for the shakiness of this one. It's on full zoom here. So that's the Leander coming into port. We're waiting for it, and then after a night of waiting, we then head off up north through the lake. Passport control. Lunch, actually breakfast, lunch and dinner. Those are those forest fires I was saying in the Congo. That's the ship's horn, obviously. And these are some of the little villages that we're coming across, and all the villagers coming out to see us. There is a point to this story, by the way. I'm not just showing you my holiday clips, I promise. So this is how you sort of board and get off and get on. You see sort of people grabbing onto the side and being hauled on. There's no mind the gap safety warning. This is that sort of thick jungle I was telling you about, quite impenetrable, and in fact the only trails that exist are made by the chimps over dozens and over decades of being in that spot. So over here. Okay, so yes, that was my little Africa trip. I managed to get a few sort of sketches and things done at the time, because that's what I've always been interested in, doing the art side of things. That's a Victoria Falls oil sketch, and these are just some of the sort of drawings I was doing along the way, as well as obviously plenty of photos and film to sort of keep the reference library stocked up. But what I was enjoying more and more as I was going along was journal writing, and I expect some of the younger people here may be forced to keep a journal or a diary or something on trips to things like France and places like that. I was never particularly interested in doing that, but I realised here it was something to go back to at the end of a long day's sort of travel and enjoy, and sit back and enjoy what you've written over the past few days. I thought I'd like to do this when I got back as well, so I didn't think I'd have much chance of sort of getting into any of the newspapers, but I sent these few things off as well, scribbles off, and people seemed to start liking them, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't think I was a terrible writer, although that probably had something to do with it, but I just thought surely there must be someone doing this already, someone writing about natural history. But there wasn't, and I couldn't find any. There was occasional sort of clips of people doing it, but there was no sort of regular columnists doing anything about natural history, and I just couldn't believe it, because it's a lovely subject to write about. So I was in the paper within a week, and then another one, and another one, and I just couldn't believe no one was doing it. But it's a lovely thing to sort of get into, and because you enjoy researching it and writing it, and then you realise that people are relying on that every week well, you hope that they will then take what you've written about the wildlife that can be found in that week, in that month, in that year, and go out and see it for themselves. And the sort of feedback you get it's really lovely. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to read you an excerpt from a recent article I wrote on big game. The trick I've discovered is to sort of tie it in with the local wildlife, no matter how tenuous the link is, so you'll see it in a minute. And this is a rather grim account, I suppose, an incident that happened to me in Botswana on one of those family safaris when we went further than my granddad's. Okay, the sparks of the bush television had long died out. All that remained were the embers, glowing like agitated fireflies and slowly fading. The deep, dark quilt of night had been pulled over above our campsite. The water monitors and the crocodiles had slunk off from their basking places by day to some unknown corner of the swamp. The raucous chitter-chatter of jays, hornbills and finches had wilted to a substitute of cicadas, crickets and the snorts of contented hippos from the river yonder. It had been a long, exciting and emotionally exhausting day, following kudu herds and lion prides across the delta and trekking over termite mounds and through wait-a-bit thorns, all in the name of safari. Now we were tired, and as the last glimmer of gold streaked across the evening sky, and the bulrushes swayed gently in the soothingly cool breeze, my sister and I retired to our tent for some well-earned rest. Africa is a mysterious and perplexing continent, holding within it wonder, awe, madness and terror in equal measure. It is often referred to as the heart of darkness, yet the truth is often... It's often referred to as the heart of darkness, yet the truth is usually in stark opposition to this. A land of brilliant light, intriguing cultures and rich wildlife. Botswana is probably the epitome of this. But not tonight. The old adage of the dark continent is occasionally never more apt, as you're about to see. I was awoken firstly at around midnight by what I was not sure. All I knew is that there was a presence outside, a heavy rustle, if you can imagine such a thing, just beyond the tent's canvas. I listened for a while before creeping out of my bed and flicking the torch on through the canvas. At first, I couldn't see anything, merely the beam of the torch being reflected directly back at me. Then the realization dawned. I was shining the torch straight into the skin of a hippo. The most dangerous animal in Africa was standing within scratching distance of my bed. At length, the beast lumbered off, and I have to say, more than a little put out, I returned to my slumbers. 2 hours later, both myself and my sister awoke with a start. Again, we did not know why. I switched the torch on to see if our portly friend was back, but this time the beam lit up only the fireplace some 15 metres away. Then we heard it, a single shot in the distance. We listened but could hear no more. The following morning we inquired at the breakfast table. The tragedy had befallen the area. Some 800 metres away, a guide, his female client and her son had been camping. The boy was fascinated by hyenas and had heard a clan nearby after nightfall. Leaving the safety of his tent, he was immediately attacked and sadly decapitated before the guide could respond. The first shot stopped the attack, the second dispatched the hyena. Not a very appetising reality of the African bush. Most people journey to Africa to see, here's the tenuous link, to see big game, those last existing leviathans of the continent, indeed of the animal kingdom. And everyone knows about elephants, giraffes and buffalo. But they also know about our megafauna. The red deer rut is now well underway. Cannock Chase, this was for a piece I wrote up in the Midlands, just out of county, is a wonderful place to go and see these animals bellowing their dominance across the land. The experience within these rare pockets, such as on the Chase and in deepest Africa, will take you back to primeval existence, where it can truly be said that beasts, not man, ruled the earth. Long may it continue to be that way. So you can see the sort of tenuous link I'm talking about there. Anyway, some people seem to like it, so I continue. At the same time, when I was about 22, I started to make little films about different species, entirely actually for my own pleasure. I mean, sort of video camera here, animal here, and me in the middle. And I'd enjoy taking a camcorder around Africa and to a few other places that I went to, like Central America. And so I thought I'd give British sort of wildlife the same treatment. Channels like YouTube, as you all know, enable people from around the world to tune into whatever you have to say or whatever you're going to broadcast. So I started taking it a bit more seriously, reading books and checking the internet and even going to courses on wildlife filmmaking. If anyone's interested, there's actually a very, very, very good course, the best in the country by miles, called Wild Eye, which is run by a friend of mine called Piers Warren. There's some leaflets on the table at the front if you'd like to take one. It's a fantastic experience, just a weekend, but it's lovely. I then asked for a week's leave to be deducted from my sort of holiday from my travel job I was working at the time, to go and spend some time doing work experience with Tigress Films, who work down in Bristol. I'm sure you would have seen some of their clips. They do a lot of the one-show wildlife, for example. And that's a great company who specialise in wildlife and adventure filmmaking. And they even managed to put together a very embarrassing show reel for some unknown weirdo with a strange fascination for snakes, as you're about to see.